And now to the evening's headliners, if you will. Two of the greatest artists in the city, usually thought of as soloists, but appearing tonight for the first time ever in an interview as a duo. One hails from Riga, Latvia. After 1 year as the music director of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, he recently extended that contract through the year 2022. The other is celebrating a 20th anniversary at the helm of the Boston Pops. Andris Nelsons, Keith Lockhart, great to see you both, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. So what's the thing you most admire about him?
His youth. And it's something I can't capture.
No, in terms of his skill set and that sort of thing, Keith.
Seriously, I think what I most admire is what I value most is the feedback I hear from players, my colleagues, people I've known for 2 decades now. And what everybody universally says is that there is a spirit of fire and energy. There's of course
Look
music.
at his face. Look how embarrassed he is.
I'm going to get him really red. Musical excellence is assumed at an orchestra at this level, but he is inspiring this orchestra to go to greater plateaus, and that's the job of a music director at this level.
So the pressure's on you. Stop drinking. What do you most admire about Keith Lockhart?
You know, when I first saw, you know, I don't want to be. It was
a VHS tape.
Exactly. and the precision of the technique and clearness of the technique and the, of course, communication with the Boston Pop. I was very, very, very young. 16,
I read.
And you know,
and I'd already been here a while.
But you know, because of course that was you know, really so long ago. But Keith looks exactly the same now, and that's what you know.
You know, but let's get back to this youth thing. You're his boss. In fact, you are. I read it. And in fact, I read in the paper that he said he was old enough to be your father. How strange is that?
Only biologically.
I mean, he's a pretty iconic figure in this community. How strange is it being his boss?
Well, I'm not his boss.
Oh, yes, you are. Is he your boss?
Technically, he is my boss. He is the overall artistic head of everything that goes on in the Boston Symphony, which includes the Boston Pops. That having been said, they're pretty much 2 separate silos. So, you know, we work together for the same organization, but we run 2 different parts.
I want to talk about how complementary the organizations are in a second, but 20 years ago, you were the 30-something wonder kid.
I was.
I
was even younger than he was.
Exactly.
But just a little bit.
How strange is that, watching another 30-something wonder kid come into this community?
It's actually, you know, I think, and I heard this from people who were, you know, 20 and 40 years older than me when I was getting my first opportunities. It's actually great. You look at the continuity of the musical language, the building of the tradition. You know, when I first got into the orchestra, there were people who had studied with people who were active in the 19th century. I mean, you know, it's this continual tradition that is passed down, largely an oral tradition, that produces more and more great musicians who do more and more great things.
How are the 2 organizations complementary? Have you thought about the possibility of doing any collaborative work together, Andris? How do the 2 organizations relate?
Yeah, well, I mean, firstly, we all are one team, you know, and the musicians are, most of the musicians are the same.
Right.
Pop, Boston Pop, and
they're the common
symphony,
resource. Yes.
You know, and the music. I mean, it maybe sounds naive, but it's so universal, you know, and it's a classical music, a pop music, Boston Pop, or it's all about expression of our emotions, about our attitude to life, attitude to things, and I don't really, so you know, it's a classical music, you know, the Beethoven or Henze or Carter, and that's, you know, that's Boston Pop. It's really
those barriers have begun to break down, and we're a musical resource for the broadest possible community.
I want to talk about that community in a minute. Actually, speaking of barriers breaking down, you introduced him at Tanglewood not long ago to conduct a piece. Here's a little piece of that. Watch.
In his Boston Pops debut, please welcome Maestro Andris Nelsons.
Are you this humble, or what? You avert your eyes. What's your reaction when you see this, Andris?
Embarrassment.
Do you ever watch yourself?
Well, I have to watch it in order to analyze and to criticize myself.
But you don't like doing it.
But it's terrible. It's terrible watching yourself.
It's nice to watch others. I mean, I enjoy it.
When you watch other people and you go, I really look like that?
Keith, could you do what he does, and could you do what he does? Could you conduct the BSO, and could you conduct the Pops?
conducting is conducting. It's technique. It's a medium to translate music, and you can do that to any repertoire. What happens, of course, is a matter of specialization. This young man here has done complete ring cycle at Bayreuth. A lot of very huge rep things that I've never done because my career went in a different direction. On the other hand, he doesn't know the collected works of Glenn Miller. So
but music is music.
Music is music, and conducting
and communication is. Right. Communication.
Well, I'm trying to work. There's got to be some collaboration. You guys, I mean, for example, you're a piano player. You're a trumpeter. I know you're not quite as good as Hardenberg or whatever. I saw at your initial concert. He was brilliant. Could you play with each other? What kind of collaborative
I'm
thing?
sure somebody's going to come up with something that we're going to do.
Well, we're trying to do it right now.
Well, what we should do is that we should invite Andris to show up at a Boston Pops concert sometime, because I think that'd be a great connectivity.
As in on the stage?
On the stage.
Would you do that?
Yes. Sure.
That would be fantastic.
And why don't you invite him to be on
yes,
the stage?
I've been on the stage with the BSO before.
But I'm talking about this guy here.
Yes,
but this guy, yeah, we could share. What we do every year, of course, Tanglewood on Parade is an opportunity to do that.
You know, you both have incredibly high-stress jobs. You both seem incredibly relaxed. A little bit I know you. We were talking to you on the radio recently. I was hoping that I said, so what do you do to relax? I assumed he'd say, I read the great masterpieces. You know what the answer was? He watches television comedies. How many times have you watched each episode of Frasier?
A lot.
That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. I want you to know.
But it's so great. And again, it shows, you know, well, I wouldn't. It's so great. I just.
Does it relax you? Is that why you do it?
It's relaxing, and you know, the humor is so, you know, it's really
But you didn't know Frasier before you started working over here, did you?
Yeah, I knew. I mean, I knew it.
Syndication in Germany, possibly. And,
I was in UK in Birmingham as a. Every
you
morning you
Family
get
Guy.
breakfast, and there was.
And you went to your first Patriots game yesterday.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what's going on there, or no? Do you understand the game, or yes or no?
I didn't understand the rules, but you know, growing up in Europe, of course, it's more soccer or ice hockey. But the excitement, energy, seeing 70,000 people. Oh, sorry, what I'm talking. Yeah, 70,000 people, and
they weren't cheering for you; they were cheering for Brady. You know that.
Yes. And of course, the Brady. You know, of course. I mean, I had Bill, the chairman of the board, who was inviting BSO Boston Symphony. He gave me the shirt with the number 12.
You're wearing a Brady shirt.
Yes, the cap, so.
What do you do to relax? What do you do to calm down?
Go to the Cape.
Do you really?
Sit on the sand, watch the birds fly overhead. I like to ski. I like to read. I like to cook, but I don't do very much of that.
What are you most excited about that's coming up in the near future with the BSO, Andris? In your immediate future, what's the most exciting project that's on the immediate horizon? Is it Shostakovich
cycle,
Thursday night?
Shostakovich cycle. Generally, what we're doing, it's one of. I mean, and then Electra, Strauss opera.
Well, that's amazing on stage in concert. That's.
You know, but.
And you're doing recordings. The Shostakovich is what, round 2 of the recordings? Yes.
Yes, because we do with the Deutsche Grammophon. I would, you know, it's a great label, and it's a great, you know, it's a great.
The whole set of all 15 Shostakovich symphonies recorded live in concert.
Yes, and live from concert.
What's coming up for you that you're really excited about?
Most interesting thing, of course, Holiday Pops is just over the horizon, but we're doing a very interesting collaborative project with Berkeley, and it is the classic. What year is that?
1922.
1922.
I read about it today. It's great. I
the
love
Murnau film Nosferatu, which is the original Dracula movie. For those of you who aren't into German expressionist films, the film scoring department at Berkeley, the students as a project have done a complete score to the silent film, and the Boston Pops is going to perform it live to the film on the night before Halloween.
You know, you're doing the BBC Orchestra. You've got this new thing in Leipzig. How do audiences elsewhere compare to the audiences in Boston, Andris?
You know, generally it's very difficult to you know, to. I wouldn't say this 100% I'm right or wrong, but really in Boston it feels such a family, such a support from the audience, that they really follow everything what happens in life of the orchestra, and there's a continuity, you know, of regular concert goers and also the guests who come with the first time, and this combination is, because you know, it feels very familiar. You know, always come, you see the feeling, the atmosphere, and the faces. I don't know. It's very, very warm.
I understand. Do you,
You know-
what do you think is the
there's
Boston distinction?
There's a passion here for the performing arts groups that's similar to the passion for the sports teams. You really do feel kind of embraced by the community, and there are every place has a slightly different feel. If you conduct orchestras in Japan, they are so reverential in the face of the music that sometimes you're afraid, as a conductor, with your back turned, that they've all left because it's so quiet. But they're just sitting there taking it in reverentially. You know,
One of the things I know, having spoken to you both in the past, one of the things you work hard at is to build the audience for what you do. What's your focus? How are you working to expand the spectrum of people who come to the BSO, who love the BSO? What do you do, Andris?
Well, I think it's firstly is to do our great mission. Just really, if we show that we really love and we do love, and it spreads this kind of infection of maybe my it's maybe a bit from my side, it's maybe a bit naive, but if people see that you really love what you're doing, people would want to experience that, that passion. And then another thing is also the repertoire, to have the combination and the mixture of things. So it's the offer of repertoire is very wide to what the audience, and then also that they see and they realize that we musicians are exactly the same human beings experiencing the same feelings, emotions, and there's no borderline in terms of you have to come to concert. So I'm not wearing a suit today.
I noticed that. Thank you, Andris. Yes, I did notice
It's nothing to do with classical concert is sterile, or it is purely about what happens in the in the heart of the human being, and to share that with, and either it's a classical Beethoven and it's a Boston pop, or it's equally exciting. That's what I really feel.
And you took it one step further with that incredibly, I'd say risky, but wonderful thing where you allowed your audience, I think just starting this last year, to actually select what you were going to play.
I'm not even sure Andris knows about that. We had with people's smartphones, they were voting for selections, and we gave them 3 selections in each category, a favorite John Williams moment, and we played live what they voted for.
Contemporaneously, right after they voted. So is that going to continue?
Yes, we are going to continue it. It really, it was funny. It did more. It wasn't just a good gimmick. It was, people felt engagement. They felt invested in the result. They were like, "Ooh, I voted for that one," and it changed the listening atmosphere. It's hard to describe, but I think what Andris touched on, the greatest thing he can do for the perpetuation of this art form is to share that humanity, to share that enthusiasm for the thing, and that hasn't always been the case. Maestri of an earlier century or earlier in this last century were known for removing themselves, for dressing different, for acting different, for not dealing with the common clay. I think what this profession needs is more people who are willing to go, I love this stuff. For me, this is the why of human existence. Come share it.
2 of the most inviting artists I know. Andris Nelsons, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Keith, as
Jim, always a pleasure.
Great to see you. 2 greats, Andris Nelsons, Keith Lockhart.